Okay, I talked a bit about the part-time work because when Karen was talking about, yes, we need work and family responsibility balance, but honestly, I don't know one woman, and I think I'm quite a proud activist, that wants a part-time job at half the salary and no pension plan because I have a family. I want a full-time job with the full salary, with a pension plan when I'm ready to retire, but I need flexibility and good employment relationship to deal with my family responsibility, not the guilt of lying. Because Ben will remember he was part of the Health of Nurse Survey researcher team. I was the decision maker team, and they wanted to ask all kinds of questions. So you can ask what you want, they'll lie. They call in sick, they'll tell to the employer, I have a high temperature. It's not me. It's my 6-month-old baby that has a high temperature, and that's why I can't go into work. And you have to be careful how you'll ask the questions because you won't get the right answers. And that's how our system is made. Really having fun for a Friday afternoon, and my next real pet peeve is harassment and bullying. And all due respect, Patty, to the work you're doing, but it gets me going. The first zero tolerance policy in violence was in 1988. I was there, you know, the first one in New Brunswick, anyway, and we weren't very advanced. And today we're giving workshops on bullying. Have we made any progress? Like, let's shake our heads here. Honestly, the whole bullying, never mind that the workplace is what did I call it, other than a cesspool, but this cooker bowl or pressure cooker, thank you. Let's bring everyone back to kindergarten. You know, there is a poster, everything you needed to know, you learned it in kindergarten, but there is a way of dealing with people, and there is a way of working together, and that's not belittling the issue of bullying in the workplace, because it's a major issue. I've seen nurses and other healthcare workers giving them the fingers at nursing unit, and I'm in shock. Never mind not smiling. You know, there's issues that we have to deal with, and I have to bring it back. And I'll tell you a little stories. I'm good with my stories, but just to keep it on how I believe you need to keep your work environment, your working environment. In the it was the late 1980s, I worked in the emergency room at Georges Dumont in Moncton, and in their wisdom, the hospital decided to cut the security staff. I'm 5 feet tall, 5 feet 2.5, 3 inches, depending on my heels. 5 feet tall, not that big, worked in the emergency room Friday night. It can be rough. It's a little city. Biker arrives with the ambulance, you know, all dressed in leather. The girlfriend all dressed in leather, drunk as skunks, 2 of them. And we have to cut the leather suit of the biker. The girlfriend's going wild. I can't handle her. The doctor's thinking, what am I going to do? I said to the girlfriend, come here, I have to talk to you a minute. I put her between the doors of the emergency room that open automatically. Just wait a second. I locked the door, called the police. You know, that was my work environment. I needed to keep your boyfriend alive. I didn't need that. Of course, employer wanted to discipline me. It didn't last very long because even the police reacted and brought the young woman to jail. So, Margaret, you know, when we talk about home care, and I was mentioning that to the washroom, I'm sorry. Home care is also my work environment. It's your home. I'm here for an hour. You're not going to smoke in my work environment, and you'll put your cats away while I'm doing your dressing. It's my work environment. And we need to teach that. You have to say it in a polite way. Of course, you know, you're not dealing with a biker woman who's half drunk there, but you have to deal and take ownership into your environment. But the violence still exists. In 2005, 1 in 6 nurses reported being bullied in the past year. 3 in 10 nurses, it was direct physical violence. Again, we know through research, and it's the health survey of nurses done by Stat Canada and Health Canada, that healthcare workers are more likely to be attacked than prison guards, police officers, transport workers, retail workers, or bank employees. So some will say, Linda, are you concerned? In case you haven't noticed. And yes, I am. And the major reason, it's not mental health as per se, but physical injury is not as taboo as mental health. And we're in healthcare, we still have a big issue. We had to fight tooth and nails for personal protective equipment during the, like N95, during the H1N1. Shake your head. That is a simple equipment, and nurses unions and other unions had to fight across the country to make sure healthcare workers were well protected. So imagine what we have to do with mental illness when the physical illness is not there. But we're not worried about the cost of police officers and their bulletproof vests. You can have an officer gain or lose 20 pounds a month. They'll refit him or her with their bulletproof vest. But nurses, it's another thing again with those N95 masks. So an area I cannot leave because I think it's one of Canada's shame is long-term care, home care. And if I'd have another 20 minutes, I'd talk about Aboriginal care too. But CFNU, I'm proud to say, will be joining NUPG, CUPE, and the Canadian Healthcare Association in a national call for a forum on long-term care. What's going on in our long-term care sector right now is just the tip of the iceberg. Polite researchers are putting into fancy words. Some reporters are doing another thing, but we need to address it honestly because before a big crisis happens. So I'll stop nagging and I'll talk about solutions. I mentioned it quickly. We have to find money because money is flexibility and put that into the workplace to change it. We have one program with CFNU and Health Canada, and it's called Research to Action, and it's doing exactly that. And I'll flip a few pages because I'm really going too long here. But what we know is the role of the union is to make sure that the member has privacy when going through mental health issues. We know there's accommodation, and that's all there. It's part of collective agreement. We know that occupational health and safety laws exist, and as Patty was saying, we need to be educating about it. We're so surprised how many workers don't know what's in their collective agreement, which, you know, when they want something, they can ask for it, but they don't know what's currently in it. You think they know what's in Occupational Health and Safety Acts? No, they don't. So we need a lot of education there. EAP, well, they exist. And, you know, I don't know one healthcare facility that don't have an EAP program. If it's not within, it's within the community. But again, you're bringing that employee back into the workplace, and often it's the workplace that's the biggest issue, and we haven't fixed that. I talked about partnership in the workplace. We have different kinds across Canada, from co-mentoring, because from the spicy nurse to the new nurse, we all have something to learn, and that co-mentoring needs to lead and go further on. And of course, flexible work arrangement and teamwork. In Ontario, there's been great advancement being done in regards to keeping experienced nurses in, such as the Late Career Nursing Initiative. It's very important to look at nurses and other healthcare workers, don't get me wrong, before they start clicking the clock to retire. If I'm 45 and I'm saying I'm retiring in exactly 10 years, and you arrive when I'm 53 and say, oh, I have a program for you. No, no, no. I have 23 months and 2 weeks before I retire. The clock is ticking. I'm gone. So you need to start early and say, look, I know in 10 years you might want to look at something else. I value your experience. I want to keep you in the system, and that will work. Training. We have to talk more about health professional mental illness and addiction. And at all level, and protection. I'll never talk enough about the safety in the workplace, taking charge of your workplace and that will eliminate the violence and bullying in the workplace. And of course, the personal protective equipment. We need a culture of safety, and we have to make sure that we will not be the sickest workers. I have the Globe and Mail of April 13. I was flying to, I think it was Kamloops or North Battleford. I go to exciting places, you know. But they have the 100 best employers in the country in here. 100 best employers in the private sector. There's not a public sector employer here other than mentioning the Toronto General with the Late Career Nurse Initiative, saying that's almost an exception. You know, And sorry, Ben, I don't get the vocation things. You know, I mentioned the wings and the halo often. I believe healthcare professionals are healthcare professionals that want to make a difference, but they also have a job and a life. And it's by looking at examples that the private sector do there that show that we have to look at credibility within employers and workplace. We have to look at communication. We have to look at respect, which includes professional development, collaboration, which is simply teamwork, caring for employees as individuals, that's the whole work-family balance thing, fairness, pride in your work, and the ability to be oneself and the sense of family and team. So imagine if we would have that every day in all our workplace. If rich private companies that are only worried about the almighty dollar can do it, why can't the public sector in education and in healthcare can do it for their own employees? So I do thank you, and sorry for my rant, but it'll be close ready to coffee. Merci beaucoup.